Hey everyone, welcome back to the Christmas Carol Countdown. This week we're going to be talking about 3 different silent versions.
With me, of course.
Yes, Sarah was really interested in watching the silent versions. As you know from Wonderland Wednesday, her favorite version is the 1903 silent version.
More interested in the silent than in a lot of other versions that I'm sure are out there.
She just really likes that era and was really interested to see these. So we're going to talk about 3 different versions this week, and today we're going to be talking about one called Scrooge or Marley's Ghost. This is the earliest known version of the story, the earliest known filmed version anyway. It was in 1901, and this is not a complete version of the story. I think parts of it have been lost, but we get a good chunk of it. So we'll talk about what is there anyway. It opens up in Scrooge's shop. There's not that many title cards, I don't think.
No, and this one they didn't pair any music with it, which is fine. Better no music than bad music.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't a lot that goes on in this version. I was watching it and it's like, after a little while, okay, that's the guy who's working for him. That is Scrooge, because he's off and gone, and then it's just Scrooge. There really isn't that much that happens in that scene. Probably like Alice, it may have been for people who were already very familiar with the story.
That's what I'm thinking, because there was not a whole lot of context given for anything. It just went from scene to scene. The next main scene was him going home and seeing Marley's face in the door, and I found it kind of funny because their special effect, I guess it was probably advanced for the time. They superimposed a cutout on the door of his face, but at one point he went behind the picture, so it completely ruined the illusion.
It was 1901, and I'm sure that this version, from our experience with Alice, is probably way better than a lot of other versions out there.
That could be. We haven't watched that many, so we don't know for sure, but it was interesting to see that era in film.
One of the things that, of course, I paid attention to was the costuming, and while I don't know that they would have been spot on the whole time, I think that there was an effort made not only to, feel free to correct me, have it be period correct for Scrooge's time, Dickens' time, but also in the insets, background images of his youth to try and mimic the costuming that would have been back then. They gave him white-looking breeches for when he was younger. They were probably going for early 1900s, because he is supposed to be an elderly man at this point. Like Jane Austen era. There we go. There's a good reference point.
And I'm not an expert, but to me, with an untrained eye, it looked period correct. So I'm sure for most people it probably was just fine.
There were some awesome puffy sleeves. His ex-fiance had great sleeves, proving even more what a fool he was to lose her. One of the differences in this version is that they don't bother with all the different ghosts. They just have Marley show up in a sheet and walk him through his life.
That's basically what the rest of the film is Marley's Ghost, showing him the past, present, and future.
Another thing that I found interesting was that at some point Tiny Tim is delivering some dialogue. He stands up and he looks like he's delivering it to an audience. So this is very early film. I'm thinking that would have been a carryover from theater right there, because I doubt that they were doing any of this for a live audience since they had to overlay so much. And there's this plaque up at the Cratchit's house that says, "God bless us, everyone," so they're driving that point home. Really, were there any cards on this one?
There were a couple, but they were few and far between.
Okay. They do go to his nephew's house, but there just isn't a lot of build-up for the story There wasn't much more to it. It ends with him at his gravesite. So we seem to be missing the end of it, where he has repented and everything changes and everything is great. Sadly, but it's still an interesting historical piece of film. If you're familiar with the story, you can nitpick over what wasn't there, frankly. Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, I think that's going to be all for this episode. On Wednesday, we're going to be talking about a 1910 version of the story, which is a little bit longer than this one and seems to be the full movie. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure we got the whole thing.
They covered all the bases. It seemed like the whole thing.
So you can look forward to that, and we'll see you Wednesday. Bye.